Before we begin, I wanted to say a very quick thank you for all of your helpful comments and positive feedback on my last video regarding this topic. I'm really appreciative for all of the support, and I hope to answer some of the questions that were asked in regards to the whole situation. I also plan on inserting a little bit more of my own opinion on the whole thing, so if you've already watched my first video about this and you're interested in learning more about the aftermath of these allegations, let's just get started. Hi guys, gals, gays, and theys, I'm Omnia, and today we're going to be continuing the discussion we had in my last video about Creepshowart, otherwise known as Shannon, and her lolcow allegations. Let's do a super speedy recap before we get into the new information. On June 3rd, an admin on the gossip image board website lolcow.farm released an announcement stating that Creepshowart has been posting on the site and posing anonymously to talk shit about her YouTube associates, promote or attack herself, and overall deceive other anonymous users of the site into thinking a certain way about her and the people she talked about. The admin also posted a link that documented around 300 posts that were supposedly made by Creepshow over the past 2.5 years. In my previous video, we took a deep dive into Creepshow's alleged post history and found some less than ideal stuff, including instances where she used transphobic and ableist slurs, commented on people's skin and bodies in a negative way, gossiped about YouTubers that she had promoted and supported publicly, and even leaked her own sister's social media in an attempt to deflect blame. Obviously, if you haven't watched that video already and want the full story, it's linked in the card above as well as in the description. Now that we got all that out of the way, let's talk about the aftermath of these allegations coming out. On the afternoon of June 4th, a Twitter account named DishSoap1234 created a thread about the lolcow allegations, detailing a few of the worst posts in the post history. They also provided a link to the post history and a few of their own thoughts. The link to this thread should be in the description under resources. However, later that day at around 5 p.m, Creepshowart posted an announcement to her community tab on her YouTube channel. This post is kinda long, but it reads, "This post just going up because I need to talk about this and let you know what's going on. Earlier today, I got a message saying that I had doxed a relative, that I had been called out for saying certain things about myself and other creators, and more on a hate forum. And I was confused because I hadn't done that. I would remember doing that, especially the doxing. That's so firmly against what I stand for, and I don't believe in doing that, even to someone I loathe. However, after being sent screenshots of what I allegedly said about me, myself, my friends, and most importantly, my relative, I realized what had happened. A couple years back, I made a video about how I had been stalked over 8 years by a woman I called Amy. That's not her real name because I was protecting her identity. I talked in detail about that situation, how it affected me, and what I had to do in that situation to keep myself safe. But I also discussed how Amy and I kind of reconciled at the end of that and came to an understanding. She even liked the video and supported me making it. We kept in contact over the past couple years, and I thought I kept a good amount of distance between us, never letting her close enough to hurt me again. Apparently, I am really shitty at that. Obviously, I was wrong, because she has gone back to doing what she has always done, which is try to hurt me, try to turn the people in my life against me, and salivate at the idea of me losing everything. She did this for years, even when I didn't have anything, to the point where when I was dating my husband, she sent him text messages telling him I was a horrible person and he should leave me. She made fake Facebook accounts to tell people about what a terrible person I was, and she spent years fucking with me, non-stop, to the point where I just wanted to end it. I had a sneaking suspicion she had been going back to this earlier this year, when I started receiving more and more images of self-harm and abuse in my inbox, because that was one of the biggest things she would do to me. I didn't want to believe it though, because I am a polarizing creator and some people on the internet just don't have boundaries. It's why I had to shut down my Instagram, and low-key why I had to shut down Twitter. I've stated publicly and behind the scenes that the amount of harassment I've received has gone down by 100% when I deleted Twitter, and I now know why. Because of Amy. When she was harassing me in high school, I would get so many images of self-harm and self-injury that it would cause me to shut down emotionally, and I had confided in her, back when we were friends, that that was one of my biggest sore spots. Seeing something like that was just the #1 way to hurt me online, so when it started happening in excess again, I started to think that maybe it was her. Maybe she had gone back to that way of being. But I didn't want to think that, because we had been so good the last time we talked, with her catching me up on her life and me doing the same back. I didn't know she was going to use everything to try to paint me as something I'm not, and I didn't think I needed to use a VPN so she wouldn't get my IP address. She had shown me pictures of her daughter and been so supportive of my channel. I thought we were okay, but I was wrong. Because she's been posting on certain sites, posing as me, spoofing my IP, doxing my family members, writing things about myself and my friends, sending me death threats from other accounts, making false accounts to spam my comment sections, spamming the comment sections of my friends saying hateful things about me in order to get them to drop me, and just all around doing what she did years ago. That's not it, of course, but the amount of time and energy she has put into this is well beyond what I thought she was capable of, and as far as I can tell, she's been doing this for well over a couple of years. This is not to say I haven't messed up or been rightfully criticized, mind you. I'm not blaming her for people being critical of me. I don't know how she did it, I don't know why she did it, but the moment my relative was brought up out of the blue, I knew it was her. She has literally always been obsessed with my relative to the point of constantly bringing them up in our conversations, asking me about them, and using them to hurt me even in high school. So I'm sending out a cease and desist, and if it comes to it, I will be filing a full restraining order. I don't want to have to do that because she has a daughter and this will go on her record, which will keep her from being able to get a job and providing for that child, and I keep going in circles in my head about this because I don't know what's right in this situation, but I also don't want this to continue. I just want this to be done. All I have ever wanted was for this to be done, and it's getting to the point where I have to protect myself and my family. I just wanted to update you guys because there is that narrative floating around now that I said terrible things about myself and doxed a relative of mine online, and it's not fucking true. All I can say is that it's not fucking true. I completely understand if no one believes me. I understand if I lose friends over this, but the fact that it's been over 10 years of this shit is exhausting. The fact that 2 fucking years ago I made a video about this exact thing happening, about this person doing this to me, going to these extremes, hopefully says a lot. This has been going on for nearly half of my fucking life and I am tired of it. I'm going to be keeping the rest of this offline where it belongs, so if you have questions, I'm sorry. I'm not answering them, but I wanted to address it. Again, I talked about this 2 fucking years ago, only to have her go around and do this shit again. I'm learning every day how much time she dedicated to harassing me, and it goes deeper than I ever thought. Initially, this announcement was received relatively well by Creepshow's fans, supporters, and friends, as evident by both the comment section and Ready to Glare's initial reaction on Twitter. Ready to Glare quickly reposted a screenshot of what Shannon had said on her community post with the caption, quote, "Please go and give Shannon or Creepshowart some love on Instagram and YouTube. She deserves it," reposting what she put on YouTube. However, a few hours later, the admin who originally posted the allegations on lolcow posted a secondary response in reaction to Creepshow's community post. It reads, quote, "Shannon's IPs accurately reflect her different locations and the device models, phone, laptop, etc. she has been known to use. We have additional data that we don't want to divulge, but you're welcome to look at some past outings to see how we proceed." And then the admin proceeded to link some relevant resources that explain previous situations like this, where they have exposed other creators for acting similarly to Shannon. The post continues, quote, "Her explanation only proves that she can't deny our legitimacy. The implication that nearly 300 posts over the span of 2.5 years all came from one single spoofed IP is ridiculous. Shannon hasn't pointed out which singular IP she's confirming as her post history because she's too fucking stupid to realize that she just implicitly confirmed her entire post history. At the same time, she expects us to believe that one IP was spoofed to frame her. Is she going to claim all the other IPs in her post history as spoofed now too? She knows she fucked up. Otherwise, her defense wouldn't be, 'It was my device information and my IP, but somehow I was framed.'" Later that night, several hours after Shannon posted her community tab response, she posted this on her Instagram highlights, quote, "I'm going to sleep now. Good night. Again, regardless of the legal decision I make, it will be done offline." Now, as illustrated by the admin's secondary response, there are a lot of holes and flaws in Creepshow's response that simply doesn't add up or doesn't make any sense in context to the entire situation. For one, there is the technical side of things, which include the IP addresses and cookies. However, there is also the common sense side of things, which leads us to ask questions like, why would a stalker who allegedly is attempting to smear your online reputation promote your YouTube memberships on a gossip website? Or if that really was the case, why wouldn't a stalker employ even more transphobic or ableist language than what was originally used to up the ante and slander you even more? Now that we understand the reasons why Creepshow's excuses make very little sense in relation to everything, let's continue on with the timeline of events. On June 5th, Ready to Glare seemed to have changed her reaction to the entire situation. She posted on Twitter, quote, My heart fucking hurts. I don't visit or post on lolcow. In the past, years ago, an ex-friend posted about me there. It severed our friendship. The sole name of the website still stings. I specifically stay away from those websites as I find them bad for my mental health. In the past 24 hours, I've been swamped by different versions of what's going on. I'm overwhelmed. I'm going to take a step back for a bit to process. Otherwise, nothing else really eventful happened on the 5th besides DishSoap1234 updating the thread and more speculation occurring on Twitter, with most fans debating whether or not these allegations are true or not. The very next day, on June 6th, more than a couple of things happened. For one, I made my own personal opinion clear about the entire situation under Creepshow's community post. I stated, quote, "Shannon, I really want to believe you about this, I really do, but this story genuinely doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry, but unless you have definitive proof that this is indeed your stalker, I cannot support this." And this obviously still holds true today. I'm extremely skeptical of Shannon at the present moment, and despite us having connected in personal DMs, the evidence that she has of it being anyone other than herself is just very minimal, if not non-existent. Don't get me wrong, I'm still very open to the idea of her coming through and making a statement proving me wrong. I'm still very receptive to the idea that she makes a potential comeback and claps back at all of us, but as of right now, the evidence is mounting against her, and I genuinely can only see Shannon doing this and saying these things on her own accord. Honestly, Shannon, if you're watching this, my Discord is still very open to you if there's anything you would like me to know, but if I'm being very straight up and transparent right now, I genuinely think you are the one behind your lolcow post history, and I think it would be in your best interest and in the best interest of all of your fans, friends, and supporters watching to hear you come clean. Obviously, don't confess to anything you truthfully didn't do, but lying about your involvement or the part you played in this situation will only cause those who believed in you to lose their respect for you. When I made my first part of this series, I really didn't anticipate getting this much traction over it, but after reading literally thousands of comments from people who absolutely adore your content, even going so far as to describe you as a comfort content creator, I think everyone just wants to hear you be truthful instead of what you're doing right now, which is running as far away as possible. You can deny the reality of a situation all you want, but that doesn't make it any less true or real. So, whatever your truth is, I think I and a lot of others would be interested, willing, and ready to hear it. Maybe we're all wrong about you, but until you're able to produce some sort of tangible evidence to shift the narrative, a lot of people are going to be doubtful of you for a very long time. So I anticipate many others openly invite you to tell it to us how it is, but as of right now, my stance is known until further information is provided. Now that I've made my feelings about the whole thing clear, let's continue with the timeline of June 6th. Early that day, Shannon posted a video titled "Why Pride Exists and Why Straight Pride Doesn't," which didn't blow over too well. As detailed in my first video on the subject, there were a couple of posts in the post history that allegedly belonged to her that specifically used derogatory, offensive slurs towards trans men and trans women, as well as the F slur, which is typically targeted at gay men. And again, as I previously stated, if these posts really do belong to Shannon, that would obviously allude to the idea that Shannon is indeed transphobic or homophobic, which led a lot of viewers to speculate that this Pride video was released as a way to do some sort of damage control or to confuse people into thinking that Shannon would never say something as heinous as what was detailed in the post history. Even some anons on lolcow stated, "Imagine posting a Pride video after being outed for using slurs against the LGBTQ community." However, other viewers were blissfully ignorant to the allegations at the time, and the fact that Shannon hearted some of these willfully ignorant comments is awkward at best and frankly misleading at worst. Aside from the shit show happening in Shannon's YouTube comment section, there was yet another field day on Twitter with multiple creators that have been known to associate with Shannon posting their thoughts and feelings. Some had been subtweets like Loey Lanes, while others were much more direct and upfront. Regardless, I'm not going to detail every single thing each creator has said about Creepshow since these allegations have come forward, as that video would be like an entire hour long, and believe it or not, I have a life outside of YouTube that I need to attend to, so if you're really interested in something like that, let me know in the comment section down below and I'll consider it for part 3 of this series. Later that night at around 10 p.m, my first video about these allegations dropped, and here we are now. Not much else has occurred between the time I uploaded my first video. For one, now there's a million new videos out there about this situation, which I haven't really had the time to watch, but I'm sure you can find more about this if you're interested. Shannon has also been continuously bleeding subs and is likely going to continue bleeding subs until she can come up with a tangible response to this garbage fire. As for new allegations and stuff, there are a lot of YouTubers coming forward with their own personal stories regarding Shannon, whether that be Emily Artful or Hopeless Peaches. A lot have been stated to be coming out either tonight or tomorrow morning, which means we're just going to have to wait and see what comes of this. I personally don't plan on speaking out about anything else right now until solid proof comes out that these accusations by both Emily and Peaches have some tangible evidence or receipts to back them up. However, what I will say is this: I do have reason to believe Emily's story. But until then, I guess we will just have to wait and see what comes of this situation. As of right now, I plan on awaiting Emily's and Peach's videos detailing their experiences with Shannon, as well as Shannon's much anticipated response to all of this. Afterwards, I may consider making another video. Until next time, that's all from me. Thank you, as always, to all of my wonderful patrons. Thank you to all of these amazing individuals for pledging, with a special thank you to all of my incredible newcomers, Flavio Lee, Neptune, Joy Holmes, and Sarah. You seriously help making my content so much easier. If you would like to support me on Patreon, the link is in the description below. Last but not least, a special thank you goes out to S1NC0S1N10 on Twitter for this incredible fan art of me, Thuman, and Kai. I literally want a print of this, it's so good. I'll catch y'all next time. Bye!